Okay, so when you hear the acronym STEM, what pops into your head? Probably science, technology, engineering, and math, right? But what if I told you it's not just a list of school subjects. It's actually a whole philosophy for how we learn and solve problems. So let's dive in and really unpack what that means.
So, is that really all there is to it? Is STEM just a convenient bucket we throw four, let's be honest, sometimes intimidating subjects into? Is it just a checklist for what we think a good education should look like?
Well, the answer is a big, clear no. It is so much more than that. You see, at its very core, STEM is a philosophy. It's this whole approach to education that's built on things like inquiry and creativity and, solving the kind of messy, real-world problems that just don't fit neatly into a single 45-minute class period. And to really get a handle on this philosophy, we actually have to go back in time. We need to look at its origins, because this whole thing wasn't born in some quiet classroom. No, it was forged in moments of serious national and global crisis.
Okay, so the story really kicks off back in 1957. You've got the Sputnik shock. The Soviet Union launches this satellite, and it just sends a wave of panic through the US. That panic, it led to this massive investment in science and engineering education. Then, you fast forward to the 2000s, and suddenly there's a new STEM crisis. This time it's all about fears that we're not going to have enough skilled high-tech workers. And now, looking ahead to the 2030s, well, the challenge is even bigger. We're talking about preparing people for millions of new jobs in fields that, honestly, might not even exist yet.
And listen, this isn't some far-off, distant future problem. The urgency is right now. Check this out. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that STEM jobs are going to grow nearly twice as fast as other occupations over the next decade. Twice as fast. So this is way more than just an academic exercise, right? It's a straight-up economic imperative.
Okay, so we get why it's a huge priority. But what does this philosophy actually look like when the rubber meets the road? In practice. What are the core principles that really make STEM so different from the way we might have learned things?
Well, at the heart of it all is a massive shift in how we think about education. On one side, you've got the old-school banking model. You know the one. The teacher stands at the front and just deposits information into students who are basically passive recipients. But STEM champions the total opposite, what's called inquiry-based learning. And here, the student becomes an active investigator, asking questions, digging in, and building their own understanding.
And believe it or not, this isn't some trendy new idea. The philosopher John Dewey was talking about this over a century ago. Back in 1910, he said, "Thinking is inquiry." His whole point was that real, deep learning happens when we're actively trying to solve problems, not just sitting there memorizing a bunch of answers for a test. STEM is really just the modern-day application of that powerful, time-tested idea.
So this whole philosophy really rests on three main pillars. First up, breaking down the silos between subjects. I mean, think about it. If you're designing a solar-powered car, that's not just a science project, right? It's physics, it's math, it's engineering, all rolled into one. Second, it's about connecting learning to the real world, so students can tackle actual issues. And third, there's a huge emphasis on creativity and using things like design thinking to come up with solutions you might not have expected.
And that creative part often follows a really cool framework called design thinking. It all starts with empathy, like really understanding the person you're trying to solve a problem for. From there, you define what the actual problem is, then you brainstorm all sorts of wild ideas. Build a quick and dirty prototype, and then you test it out to see what works. It's this amazing cycle of learning and improving, not just a hunt for one single right answer.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how does this big philosophy actually show up in a real school? Let's get practical and look at an example from Louisiana's educational framework to see how they're turning these ideas into practice.
Yeah, and it's really important to get that implementing STEM isn't like flipping a switch. It's not all or nothing. It's more of a spectrum. So a school might start at one end with appreciation, hosting a science fair or an after-school robotics club. Then they might move on to offering dedicated STEM classes, but the real endgame, the ultimate goal, is full integration, where these concepts are just woven seamlessly into the fabric of every single school day.
And at the end of the day, all of this, the clubs, the classes, the integration, it's all building toward one super important goal, what we call STEM literacy. And this isn't about being a math whiz or a science genius. It's about the ability to integrate the knowledge from all four of these fields to go out and tackle authentic, real-world problems. It's a skill set for the future, not just a bucket of facts to memorize.
But of course, making all this happen, well, it's not exactly easy. There are some serious real-world hurdles schools have to clear. I mean, how much time can you actually dedicate to this every week? Where does the money come from for materials and training teachers? And who's going to lead it all? A dedicated teacher, staff volunteers, maybe even partners from the industry? Answering these tough, practical questions is what takes this from a cool philosophy to a classroom reality. So when you strip everything else away, what is the real goal here? It's actually not just about filling the job openings we have today. It's about something way more profound, something that's totally future-proof. It's about cultivating adaptability. It's about raising a generation of thinkers who are amazing at learning, unlearning, and relearning over and over again for their entire lives. Which brings us to this one last critical question. In a world that is changing faster than we can keep up with, how on earth do we prepare a generation for problems we can't even predict yet, using technologies we haven't even imagined to fill jobs that don't even exist? Well, the answer, according to the STEM philosophy, isn't about giving them a map. It's about teaching them how to be explorers.